continuing our and thanks again for joining us on Vacation Station TV. Where are we now, you're saying? Well, look over my shoulder, right between Marie and I, because we are at the Townsend Heritage Center. This is really a cool place, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And we are looking forward to giving you a tour of the Heritage Center right here in beautiful Townsend, Tennessee. So don't go anywhere. And this is the Heritage Center, the inside. I told you we'd take you here. Very pretty, very nice. And who are you?
Hi, I'm Jill Cable.
Jill.
Jill.
Pleasure to meet you. Hi, you're on Vacation Station TV.
Oh, wonderful to have you.
No, thank you for inviting me in and not throwing me out or locking the doors like everyone else does when I go to their place. Tell us about the Heritage Center.
Okay, well, we started about 14 years ago when Townsend had a big 4-lane improvement to their roads and discovered Cherokee settlements. So
Locally?
Yes, oh yes, just past the red light out here. The University of Tennessee came in and did a big archaeological dig for about 3 years.
Wow.
And found over 1.5 million artifacts. We got a small percentage of those. So that makes up our main gallery, and then pioneer families from the mountains gave their ancestors farm equipment, tools, furniture, and so that's our pride and joy in our main gallery. And then we have a historic village out back with 12 structures, all furnished cabins. They're all local, just disassembled, numbered, and brought here.
Brought back to here.
And rebuilt a chapel, cantilever barn, sawmill, wheelwright shop, moonshine.
There's a lot to see here.
Lots to see here, yes. It's a hidden gem. You can't even see the historic village from the road or parking lot. So
and this is a big building, and I passed by it many times when I first came up here. When we came up, where's this heritage place?
What is this place? And we have an outdoor amphitheater that we have live concerts through the spring, summer, and fall. We have a Tuesdays at 2 program. We had a salt maker today that was from Saltville, Virginia, talked about historical salt making and how important it was before refrigerators were.
Of course,
invented.
That's how they packed the meat and the fish and everything.
Yes,
Salt.
it used to be very expensive. So we have historical information. We also have school field trips in a normal year. We have field trips almost every day of the school year. Of course, that's been on hold.
Right.
But kids come and they do lots of things, make chores, make butter, do archaeological digs. So they do lots of things. Yes.
And I'm assuming there's a brochure.
Yes, we have it right here.
I knew you would give me that. Marie will get that.
All right.
Excellent, excellent. And tell us, there's a fee of some sort to get in?
Yes, it's $10 for adults. Seniors 60 and over are $8, and kids 6 to 17 are $7.
Resident fee?
They can, if you're local, you can, or anyone can buy a membership, and they can come anytime of the year they want.
Really? How much are memberships?
Right now, it's family memberships a $35 fee for anyone under your roof that's permanently living with you, or you can get an individual membership for $20. We are a nonprofit, so we also have a contributor membership where you pay extra, and you do get extra in the gift shop.
So that's an incentive for you to become a member.
Yes.
Oh,
we have like 20, 15, and 10% discounts.
Duh. I'm asking you, and it was right there.
Okay.
Full concert series, Tall Tales of Tennessee, Elizabeth Rose and Sam Venable. Wild Blue Yonder, September 25th. That's coming up.
It's coming up.
That's right. Yes. You must wear a mask, of course. Social distancing. Yes. There it is. $10 for adults, 18.59. Seniors, 16 plus, $8. Children. Okay. It obviously sounds like it's well worth it.
It is. It sure is. It's a hidden gem, and we're trying to put more signs out so people will see us and recognize that we're not just a big old building.
What you need is a dancing bear out on the road and a dancing still.
Still, a keg of moonshine.
Okay, and the curly copper wire, and the
That
people
might
be
do
pulling in here all over the place just thinking it's a still.
That might do it.
All right, I'm ready for a tour.
Wonderful.
Rosie Bear's here.
Oh, look at it.
There's Rosie.
It really looks like Rosie.
It looks like Rosie. Little face is a little stubbier, but Rosie was up today. Rosie Bear. Oh, some of my favorite stuff. Native American pottery. Archaeology is the study of course, artifacts, the stuff left behind to tell the story of the human past. Artifacts and material items, which can include house remains, storage pits, cooking vessels, and stone tools. And this is what you're looking at here. I used to have a huge collection of pottery and all sorts of artifacts, but I no longer have it. Sven took it. Sven. These, this would be your early mortar pestle right here. It was used to grind a variety of foods, devices. It made it easier to process corn, seeds, nuts, and cooking. Mortars and pestles are still used today at grinding herbs and spices. I used to find these all the time. All this stuff I used to find. That's to start a fire. It's a fire starter. Some very cool stuff. Now there's the it's like going back to my place. Archaic woodland and Mississippi period. They also added the Cherokee period because this area has the Cherokees. But if you're a collector of tools and points and stuff, not all points are arrowheads. Some are actual tools. And you got the Paleo Indian, the late, which is very, very early. Paleo would be before the Archaic, 9,000, 1,000 BC, early Archaic, middle Archaic, late Archaic, again, early woodland, middle woodland, late woodland. These are the periods of time that Native Americans lived right here where we are walking. These are excellent, excellent examples of bird points. Those little tiny points that you see. Those are hafted from stone, usually chert or flint, which is very hard to find here. You don't find flint or chert in the state of Tennessee, so a lot of this would have been traded along the trails. That's where, if you looked at one of my videos, I took you on Indian Gap Way, and I took you there for a reason. That's because that's where the Native Americans traded with each other. Here's a little fun fact for you. Most people think that the bow and arrow was always around, and movies have always showed you that no matter what time and period or hunting or time of they show the movies, always the Indian had the bow and arrow. That's not true. The Atlatl, which that's pronounced there, if you can see that, the Atlatl, I could tell you about it, but I could just read it to here. The Atlatl was used to throw a spear farther and with greater force than could be done by the arm alone, and more than the bow and arrow. The bow and arrow didn't come up until, I believe, the 14th, 15th century. Atlatls are made of wood, bone, antler. Now, this tool may have been used during the Paleo Indian period, or you could just say Paleo period, 13,000 BC to 9,000 BC. Which I had told you about was very early and was definitely in use during the Archaic period, 9,000, 1,000 BC. Much of the woodland period, they use the Atlatl because it's extremely accurate. Now, if you look at, this is the tip. If you can, I wish I could touch one. I used to have one. It was a reproduction. I don't know where it is anymore. But if you look back about 6-8 inches, you notice that it's connected. It goes into a tubule. This is like a bamboo, and it fits into the hole there. So when you threw it and it struck something, this part would stay in the game that you were hunting. This part would bounce off, and then you'd retrieve it and load it up again. And they use different weights for the Atlatl stick. It was thrown just like this depiction here. Very, very accurate indeed. Now, the Archaic period house was very simple. Earliest houses were probably temporary structures no more than like lean-tos. As things went on to about 1000 BC, you'd found these round central hearths in the middle where they'd heat themselves. And as time went on, the Mississippi period, it would be more like a home. You would actually be living in there, and it would be more structured for multiple dwelling. More people, more than one would usually live in there. And then, of course, the Cherokee house, or a Chickie hut, which was very popular, especially with the Seminole Indians in Florida. Notice how they're built up. There's no walls because of the heat, and just enough roofing to keep the weather off of you. 1000 to 1600 AD, used for ceremony. Most of them were used for ceremony. Some were used for pleasure, but it's not like the smoking pleasure that you would think. It was an experience, because tobacco was a trade. Groundstone duck, effigy pipe. Now these were for ceremonial use only. You would sit in a circle and you'd hand off the pipe to the next person. A lot of times it was for talking. When you held the pipe, you had the floor. Kind of like Congress. The same thing. When you're standing at the podium, that's your podium, your time to talk. It's a democratic way. Face masks, never found any of these. Wish I did, because most of the time they're made of wood and they don't last. But the individual clans, this is how you would identify each other. With these type of, see, the blue clan, long hair clan, bird clan, red paint clan, deer clan, wild potato clan. That's interesting. And the wolf clan. And what clan do you with a wild potato? I'm from the dung beetle clan. Music was very important to the Native Americans. It was integral to their life. They were the ones who designed the flutes, and they made them of cedar back in those days. And then the turtle shells, they would have, actually found some in the Cumberland County area. It still had the rattles to it. It was that similar shell, but it had rattles of bone hanging from it. Actually, I still have the turtle shell. Clay pipes, you could find these all the time. If you look down, whenever you're near a lake or a stream, these usually surface very quickly, because if you notice, they have a white color to them. I have a bunch of those dark gray ones. You can find these all over if you look down. Of course, they're broke because the stem, as you can see, is very, very delicate, but you can find the pipe, the bowl itself all over. Very collectible. People do like them. Continue through. Now we're heading into white man territory now. On the porch. This is what you would have seen on the porch of most places and cabins. You hear the floor squeaking? Isn't that cool? I love that. Porches were added to cabins to increase both living and workspace. Many domestic chores were performed on the porch, such as spinning, weaving, and dyeing. Porches also provided a place for collective chores, such as breaking beans, stem berries, husking corn, and peeling apples. Women often took this opportunity to catch up with the news and the gossip, which Marie would have loved. Neat. Because I have to say that. Here's an example of a inside of a cabin. A typical cabin. The heart of the house or the cabin was the hearth. It was where life was sustained, meals were cooked, heat was received, and you just always had a fire going. Whenever you were in a cabin, you always had a fire going, or at least you tried to have a fire going, because it was important to always be cooking food or keeping heat in the house, especially during the cold Tennessee nights that are starting to approach us now. But you get a nice example of what a house would look like. And this is very close. I mean, it almost looks like our cabin. It really does. We should just take pictures of our cabin. Yeah, this is what it looked like back 8,000 years ago. Furniture was always a big deal to the people who lived in the mountains. Hand carved. And a lot of this stuff would have been made right here from the wood from this area, along with the what do you call those cribs, or what is this called again?
Bassinet.
A bassinet. for the babies. It's all made from local wood, and then the blanket chests and the beds themselves would, they don't show it, but there's usually rope tying them. There's rope that goes across, and this way it goes in a checkered pattern, weaving in, and that's where the term sleep tight comes from. You've heard sleep tight, don't let the bed bugs bite. That's where this comes from, because to sleep tight, there would be, they don't show the tool, but there would be a tool in here that you tighten the ropes so you can get a firm mattress or a soft mattress. And bugs, yeah, they always had bugs because most of the mattresses were filled with hay and or hairs, and you know, it's just the way it was back then. It's just the way it was. Here's an idea of some of the tools that one would have found on a typical farm during the 1800s or even just a little bit before that. Life was very hard. It wasn't simple. There were no electronics. There were no easy way. You worked hard. You had to use your hands, whether you liked it or not. And if you were a child of the family, and if you were the male child of the family, you were expected to get out with your dad and chop wood and hew logs. And you can see here some pictures of how the large trees that they used to take down, and then they would pull them with horses. I mean, huge trees, because they had to make log cabins. They had to make places for themselves to live and stay safe. This is actually a gate from Spindletop. Wow, what a collector's piece that is. Just don't find it. And kids, here's the $64,000 question. What is that? Do you even have an idea what that is? It's an early American spindle-top telephone. That's how we talk. That's how we instant message. That's how we tick-tocked. Mountain music. Mountain music and religion, a big part of the people of the mountains. Very much so. Music plays a huge part of their life, and so does God. So religion and God, very, very important. You'll find that most of the people up here are either Presbyterian or Methodist. Little by little, more Catholics came up and other denominations. But music and religion were hand in hand. A lot of the music was actually made from old hymns and or would be designed for that, to be like a hymn. It was a spiritual experience for most people. And the kiddies, when they went to school, this is kind of what they would find. Here's a typical school desk, probably the teacher's desk, and being schools were very small. They're not like Little House on the Prairie that you see now. Most of them would be just a couple of kids. That's all that the parents would allow to leave the farm, because the farm chores had to be done. But the teacher was trying to teach the children, so the teacher would sit there. The children would have a small bench to sit on, and the books that they were going to read would be right there. And that's how they learned, and they managed to get an education, and some of them were able to move forward. Very interesting indeed. Here's some faces of Cades Cove people. And these are truly pioneers. These pictures, they were collected by Cades Cove resident Randolph Shields. They represent a cross-section of the people and sites of Cades Cove throughout the years. And ladies, this was the typical garb of the day. Now you know you look good in this, don't you? I mean, this is all, you can see this is all hand done, hand stitched, everything. And everybody made their own clothes. Only if you had money could you afford to import something, which is rare indeed, something from France or England or somewhere. It was rare. Most ladies would prefer to have a comb that was a good comb made from bone, like these are picks. These are all made from bone. Very nice. It was just another time, folks. This was your typical light. Notice it's a light dress because sometimes it gets really warm up here. And the hats of the time. This is a lady's hat from the 1880s, 1800s, and they had these big flamboyant plumage hats, and that was a big deal back then, right? Mm-hmm. Right. Let's go out and see more. Honey, honey, honey. Honey, honey, honey. It's time. It's time. It's time now for...
Super shout out.
Okay, here we go. Outside. Look at this.
I love this.
Yeah.
Are this real?
Of course they're rare. This isn't Disney. She's so used to Disney. This isn't plastic. This is the real world.
What is this?
These are all the... no, these are poisonous. They're absolutely poisonous.
No, the purple.
No, everything here is poisonous. Listen to me. These berries and these berries, these are all poisonous.
So even Rosie Bear's not gonna
The
eat
bears eat them, and what does it? Makes them go to the bathroom. I think this is lantana. Very poisonous to horses. Stuff is too. Notice it's got a, I don't know if you could see this. Look how it spirals up the plant. Isn't that cool? I'm just showing you a geometric design of nature.
Oh, I thought it had something to do with the poison.
Let's find out. Let's have a cup. Now, as Jill said earlier, these are actual log cabins that were disassembled but reassembled here, but they painstakingly take these things apart when they find them, and they put them back together. They're numbered. It's like a Lincoln log. It really is like a Lincoln log set, only full size. And so you can see how people lived. And the obligatory picture of Mom, Pa Kettle, which is great, I guess. You know, you want to take a fun picture. That's actually a very good sized log cabin. Most log cabins were not that big. The shale fireplace, that's how they did. They just piled them on. A lot of the times they didn't use mortar. They just piled them up like that. And notice, remember in our live show, I had mentioned to you about log cabins and explained to you that if you're going to buy a log cabin, it's really important that you know what you're getting into. And I'll briefly explain to you. These are the logs. Logs. Nothing. You have to fill the inside with chink, which in most cases is a mud-based filler. Today's chink is synthetic and it's a little bit better, but I want you to notice that it's not straight, completely straight across. No log cabin is. So you'll get bugs, leakage, water if you're buying a cabin. Ask anybody who has one. You got to keep the maintenance up on them, and it's very, very expensive to do. But back then, this is all, oh God, this isn't too pretty. What a gorgeous cabin. Look at this. This is as real as you could make it. Wow. This is it. This is amazing. Of course, the bed, which usually was, I doubt it's real. I'm looking to see. No, it's not. It's not a rope bed, but it's a good example of it. And of course, if they were spinning wool, this would be the wool. They would have had sheep, and they would have taken the wool, they would have spun the thread, and from there, they would have made their own clothes. China was such a big deal. It was their pride and joy. The corner cupboard was the pride and joy of the mom, usually in the daughters. That's where dinner plates were served, and it was respected highly. You took very good care of them. The dinner table Usually was made from local wood, made by the father. I mean, you didn't go to Ogle's Furniture and buy it. You didn't go to Walmart and buy it. There was no Walmart. And of course, the butter churn. Usually the kids, that's one of their chores, was to churn butter. Not an easy chore if you've ever tried to do it. It's time consuming and your arms ache. Washing bins. This is where they would have washed some of their clothes, but mostly the dishes and the pots and the pans. The stove would have been, and a lot of them couldn't afford this, but this is actually a very good stove, a higher end. So whoever owned this probably had a little bit of money. That's where you make your waffles. You can see that. It's the Waffle Maker. And you'd always have hot water on the kettle, and this would always have some logs in it of some sort. And of course you would be drying herbs all the time, or drying fruits and vegetables, because the heat from the hearth would come up here. So you would use all of this area to hang not only fruits and vegetables, but a lot of the plants that smelled good, lavender, cherry wood, and you dry it up here. Very, very nice. This actually was the Caldwell family. And this is from the late 1800s to almost 1900. Beautifully done hearth and fireplace. Very well done. This is not normal of this time. Normally they were very, very simple, very primitive at best, but this was obviously somebody of means to be able to have this, because there is an upstairs which we can't go up, but here is the stairs that you can see. Stairs, door here just to keep people out, because you know people are sometimes. We'll go upstairs and there would be beds up here, and they would be able to because the heat rises. But the sleeping arrangements, babies and small children slept downstairs, of course, to keep them warmer with their parents, and often a cradle or trundle bed, while the older children, they were upstairs. One of the Caldwell grandchildren remembers one cold winter night that she climbed the stairs to her bed and pulled the quilts up around her to keep her warm. Waking up the next morning, she was surprised to find a dust of snow on her quilts. Snow had come down during the night through the holes in the roof. And we continue our walk. And I continue to give you the tour with Marie and I.